Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
All right, Monday morning, let's do this thing. The Cowboys might have just landed in Dallas after their long evening. This is the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. I'm Matt Roy. This is Chuck Miketinac. Chuck?
Guten Morgen.
You didn't have to stay for as late as Don did last night, but you still had a heck of a night, huh?
It's okay. It was fun. I watched the ticker on the Cowboys game, which was really interesting too, because on ESPN, if you're watching the ticker, they will even sell you advertisements during those moments.
Well, you got to sell everything.
That was new for me.
Sell
Never
everything.
noticed that before. If you're on it long enough, you will get the advertisements.
Packers won.
Packers did win, although they looked kind of meh. Tried to give it away at the end.
Broncos won.
They look good.
We don't have to talk about the Browns, Bob. Don't have to talk about USC for hobby.
Man, we could go on for days with the Browns, man. What's going on there, Bob?
I don't want to talk about the Browns at all, actually. They look just horrible.
I mean, is the team quit on the quarterback? Is the quarterback quit on the team? Or is it a little bit of both, man?
I think that they both, I think the team is just disgusted.
No, yeah, you have to turn it on over there, Hobby. It's the orange button next to the orange button. There you go. Now he's on.
No one wants to hear about Cleveland anyways.
You're right. Mute his mic again. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody, subscribe to the YouTube channel, both News 4 and Fox SA, if you're watching us there. Thank you very much. We are obviously a little earlier today. Chuck and I have some very important all-star voting to do on the high school front. So we'll be getting to that here pretty soon. Download, rate, review the podcast version wherever you get your podcasts. We are going to talk all about the Cowboys today. Since it's fresh, they basically ended like 8 hours ago. So we'll talk all Cowboys today. Spurs kick off the preseason schedule tonight. No Wemby, no Chris Paul, but what do we want to see when they get back to live action? We're also going to do High School Hype Squad today. There is no TNL this week, but we will reveal the new TNL Top 10. Spoiler alert, not very many changes because there was a lot of wins and a lot of buys this week. So abbreviated High School Hype Squad this week. Trivia time, though. The Cowboys beat the Steelers in Super Bowl 30. Who was the MVP?
I don't remember, so I get the Roman numerals all mixed up. So
96 in Tempe.
Okay. Yeah.
95, 96.
Yeah.
You remember this one?
I do.
Let's just do it now then. If you feel like you got
Larry
it.
Brown?
It was Larry Brown.
Okay. Yeah.
2 interceptions, 77-yard return. Pretty much changed the game on a dime. Neil O'Donnell did not have a good day.
Neil O'Donnell was the MVP for the Cowboys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
In Tempe, which, by the way, also got a win, forks up, against Kansas this week, 4-1. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Might be really good. Actually, might be okay. They play Utah this week, so they're not gonna have a good week.
I don't know, man. That's it's hard to joke your way to 4-1. I mean, give your team props.
Their win-loss total at the beginning of the season was 4.5. So might smash the over, might make a bowl game.
Very
so
nice.
I'll take that.
They're doing a good job there, obviously.
I'll take that. Kenny Dillingham is doing a great job there. So anyway, Cowboys-Steelers. Cowboys beat the Steelers 20-17. Dak Prescott throws a game-winning touchdown pass with 20 seconds left, just one play after avoiding catastrophe. It seemed like they were avoiding catastrophe all game, and like really, when you lose the turnover battle 3-0, and you get a field goal blocked, and you almost fumble on third down was it third down or second down when Rico fumbled? I don't remember. When you're going in second down, thank you. Second down when Rico, great play by the linebacker for the Steelers, by the way, getting his head right on the ball. But when you almost fumble the game away and then you come back and win, it's still a win is a win, gutty, gritty win, but left a lot to be desired.
For sure, in a lot of ways, right? But I mean, if you look at the stats, I mean,
oh yeah, they just destroyed them.
It was complete and utter domination. But that first Dak pick, I'm still trying to figure out what the hell happened there. It's like there was a guy right in front of his face that he had to have seen, and there was a guy over the top. I don't know. That was just really, really weird, that pick. That would have been a tough one. That's a good one to win when you play like they did, which was they played for the most part great, but you're not normally going to win when you lose a turnover battle 3-0, right?
Yeah,
so you probably feel like you stole one,
especially in the red zone when you're turning the ball over in the red zone. Like
absolutely,
it's not good. Let's hear from guys inside the locker room. This is a little compilation. Zeke Elliott's first, Jalen Tolbert in there, Rico Dowdle in there, CeeDee Lamb in there as well.
Yeah, we needed it. We know when it comes down to it, for us, gonna be there for us, and so that's exactly what it was.
Once they called the timeout, I knew I had to go back in the game. My team needed me. That's the moments that I work hard for. I wasn't going to be out in that moment. So no matter what, I was going on the field. And like I said, I knew the play call. I knew the options that were available on the play call. I knew the coverage they would run. All I had to do was get through clean and make a play. And like I say, that's what big-time players do in big-time moments. When the ball comes your way, your team's counting on you, you make plays.
Felt good. It was just, like I said, the whole time, just all about finding the rhythm. And I think we found our rhythm today and stuck with it, and it was able to show out there. Linemen making holes, and we was able to pound it down a good Pittsburgh run defense. So
everybody's calm, everybody's composed. I mean, we understand what we got to do. We got to go put the ball in the end zone, and that we did.
Yeah, it shows the type of team we have. The work we put in, I already knew that, but I think we showed the world tonight what we were capable of doing and what we're capable of doing. And like I say, I love going to war with these guys. We showed grit, we showed integrity, we showed everything that we needed to show, and came on the road and got a hard-fought victory, 3-0 on the road, so we just got to keep building on it.
You said it right there, 3-0 on the road now, Chuck. It wasn't the prettiest game, but they got the win.
It wasn't the prettiest game, but they did get the win. I mean, it still makes you scratch your head that they've been so bad at home. But, you know, you'll take these wins, right? They're hard to get, and I don't know if this is more of an indictment on Pittsburgh.
I was just about to ask you that. Is this a bad Steelers or a good Cowboys? Because I think if the Steelers had any semblance of offense, they would have won this game. But I mean, credit Dallas's defense for stepping
Amen.
up. Stepping
Sure.
up, they only allowed 92 yards rushing to a power rushing team. You're down a lot of defensive linemen. DeMarcus Lawrence, Marshawn Nealon got hurt in this game. Micah Parsons out in this game. Osa Odigizua was getting double teamed all night long. So credit the Cowboys D-line for stopping the Steelers. But if the Steelers could throw the ball a lick, they would have won this game.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to the Cowboys DBs last night. And, again, mixing and matching. What a masterful job Mike Zimmer and the coaching staff did with getting that defense ready to go and,
Agreed.
you know, next man up mentality. I mean, if you would have told me that the Steelers would have only had 17 points at the end of that game, I would have thought the Cowboys would have won by, you know, more than 3 points, that's for sure. So well done, Cowboys, on that side of the ball in particular.
To that point, though, I guess the turnover battle was 3-1 because of the pitchy woo-woo fumble at the end, as Scott Van Pelt likes to say. But if I was to tell you that the Cowboys lost the turnover battle 3-1 and we're going to have a blocked field goal, you would have said they lost this game.
100%. 100 times out of 100.
And the fact that they didn't,
especially on the road.
The fact that they didn't is huge, especially with where their injury situation is right now, which is not good at all. Especially Marshawn Nealon goes down this game. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. Tyler Guyton gets hurt in this game. Don't know how long he's going to be out for or what the severity of that injury is going to be going forward. So to win this game, to get to 3-2, to welcome the Lions into town this week, it's big because I just going to chalk it up as maybe a loss right now. You go into your bye 3-3. You have San Francisco coming out. You need to get healthy in the bye.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco's banged up too. I mean, if we're looking ahead. So I don't know that there's a decided advantage.
They just lost to the Cardinals. So.
Right. I don't know that there's a decided advantage there. So let's see if they can win a game at home. You know, if they do, then they're feeling probably pretty good about themselves going into the bye. And then coming out of the bye, you would think they're going to get at least one or two of those guys back by then. So let's see, but that's why last night stealing that game at the end was, you know, again, huge play, 4th and 4, and Jalen Tolbert got, how do we say that on a podcast?
He got hit in his no-no square.
Okay. He got hit in the place where the cup normally goes, but they don't wear cups in football. That maybe they should on a, you know.
Hey, just ask Tyler Smith where he got hit.
Yes. Quote of the week, I believe.
Quote of the week, hitting his MF and nuts.
Okay, you said it.
I mean, we can say nuts, can't we?
No,
we
can't say nuts.
Well, too bad. Anyway, so yeah, Jalen Tolbert gets hit below the belt on the 3rd down. They call a timeout and didn't put him back in. Then the Steelers called a timeout, put him back in, and the rest is history. But I tweeted this last night, and we'll hear from Dak and Matt right now. That's the play that your $240 million quarterback has to make. If you're going to pay Dak Prescott $240 million over the next 4 years, that play needs to happen, and he made it happen. So I don't know I don't want to take anything away from him because he made the play and it was fantastic. But if you're getting paid that amount of money, you need to make that play, and he made it. He made it happen.
Well said. I mean, you're absolutely right, especially in a game like this where there were so many Cowboys that were out. The guys that make the money are the guys that should be making the plays. And at least at the end of the ball game, Dak, for the most part, if you take away the 3 turnovers, was really, really good in that ball game.
Well, I mean, you look at the stats, and 352 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. They outgained the Steelers by 219 yards. Their offense was clicking. They were in the red zone all night. But where's the stat right here? When you're 1 for 4 in the red zone and you turn it over twice and you get a field goal blocked, you're not going to win a lot of games.
Right, and they were really good on third down, right? What was that last night?
I got it right there. Third down, they were 9 for 15.
That's pretty damn good. I mean, that's how you win a game where you turn the ball over as much as they did.
Yeah, let's hear from Dak and Mac real quick before we talk more.
It's interesting. We put a lot of time into the last play of the game. Frankly, the history of playing this team, it always comes down to the last play of the game. So I just thought our guys just held their composure, just kept playing. It was a different surface, just because of the weather and the moisture. We knew the ball was going to be alive, and it was, certainly for us at times. But yeah, I just think the resiliency of our football team was on display tonight.
Just look at the whole game. When we weren't scoring or we weren't doing what we needed to do, it was on us. It was on me. Whether it be fumbling on the sack early in the game in field goal range in the red zone, whether it be throwing the interception right before half, and then again when we're up 3, getting the penalty backing us up, and then that interception. Other than those, we were able to move the ball and do what we wanted. Yeah, there was never a doubt in my mind. I don't think it was a doubt in anybody in that huddle. No, there wasn't, and on the sideline. And we were just able to, even as I said, getting down there, not converting, whether it be the run I had, Rico trying to go over the top, or the throw right there on the third down. Coach always says if we have time or downs, we give ourselves a chance, and we're able to capitalize on it.
Yeah, they had time and they had downs, and they capitalized on it for sure. Per the Elias Sports Bureau, Dak Prescott's touchdown to Jalen Tolbert with 20 seconds left is the 4th latest go-ahead score in team history. So the other 3, Romo to Witten in 2015 with 7 seconds left, 1967 Reeves to Meredith with 10 seconds left, and 2007 Romo to Witten again with 18 seconds left. So
I really liked how they played it at the end. Like I said, I was telling you earlier, I was watching on the ticker, and they had well over a minute left to go, all their timeouts. I just thought, this is really good. They're milking the clock, and then I see they're running out of downs at the end. I'm like, okay, well, you need to score at some point. So I just thought overall, how they manage end of game like that couldn't have been – I mean, obviously they could have cleaned some things up on that, but they got the job done at the end.
Considering the fact that they fumbled on first and second down on the goal line, I think they could have cleaned a few things up.
100%.
Like Dak got really lucky. He ran it down to the 1. He thought he was in for a second, but he ends up fumbling, and that fumble was this close to going out of the back of the end zone, or out of the side of the end zone. Would have been a touchback, and it would have been game over. So got to clean that up. Rico, I'm not going to blame Rico for that fumble because that was a beautiful play. Did you see that?
I did not.
The linebacker literally flew from 6, 7, 8 feet away, put his helmet directly onto the ball and caused the fumble. It was jumped over the line, and it was just a beautiful play. I saw it and I was like, oh my God.
6, 7 yards out.
Yeah.
Timed it perfectly.
It reminded me of what Troy Polamalu used to do. You would see Troy running in with his hair flowing and just smashing people at the line of scrimmage. It reminded me of that. It was phenomenal.
Maybe it was him.
Maybe it was. Maybe he channeled his inner Troy.
Yes.
But where does that leave us now with the Cowboys to you? I mean, obviously they've got a lot of injuries that they have to get healthy. They don't have a lot of depth. At some point, they're going to be snake bitten by these turnovers and these penalties and these injuries, right? I mean,
you would think, right? You can't keep losing people at the rate that they are. I keep thinking when I watch them is they can't have enough time on the practice field. That's what it looks like to me, right? There's so many things where they just don't look like they're quite in sync yet. And you would think, 5 weeks into the season, they would be a little further along. But, to your point about everybody being banged up, it's hard to have continuity when, you're already limited with what you can do on the practice field. And then when guys are in and out of the lineup like it is, it's just hard to get things going. But there's something to be said about building equity while you're trying to figure these things out and bagging a couple wins along the way.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of times the Cowboys come out slow and then they rattle off 6-7 wins in the middle of the season, and all of a sudden they're 10-4, and you're just like, oh, this team's pretty good. And then they get to the playoffs and they say, oh, this team's pretty bad.
Right. Well, I think that's the one axiom that's kind of held true with McCarthy is that he understands and manages the long season, right? And usually he's got a plan for younger players, how they play, when they play. And then, when you start getting to the second half of the season, then you start really working on trying to clean some things up and, make sure that you're ready to go as much as you can be, and more importantly, be as healthy as you can be going into the playoffs. But we'll see if they're able to do that again this year, because I don't remember them losing quite this many guys. Maybe on the offensive line, time hasn't been too fair to McCarthy in the Cowboys era, but this is a lot right now in terms of how many guys they've got banged up.
Defense definitely looked better too. They still don't have a pass rush right now, and that's probably because half their pass rushers are injured. Their pass rush is non-existent, and if Justin Fields could throw the ball accurately to anybody that's on his own team, they probably would have been carved up. I want to see that defense against Jared Goff this week and see, okay, are you guys actually improving, or were you just playing the inept offense that the Steelers are? So this will be a different test against the Lions at home, where they're already 0-2. So I'm excited to see that. One other thing on the Cowboys before we get to some Spurs stuff. There was a interesting moment, for lack of a better term, between CD and Dak.
Yeah.
So CD, I'm not a lip reader.
I'm not either. Did anybody catch
I
the
didn't
lips
No, it
on
was
that?
obvious. He was saying it was my fault. That's what he was.
He was?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So people were making it out to be like, you could parse it any sort of ways, I guess. Can you pop up the 2-shot, Javier? Just get Bob up on this combo. You could parse it any sort of way, I guess. People are saying that there's a problem between the two, but not just using this one as an isolated incident. It does seem like there's a little bit of a divide between Dak and between CD.
Well, go ahead.
No.
Well, so many of the routes, it's important that you run the right route, right? I mean, that's the NFL as we play today, right? It's that the quarterback is trying to throw you open. It all depends on you being on the right route tree and making the right reads. And it was obvious to me in that occasion that he made that the receiver made the wrong read or ran the wrong route, because you don't throw that ball like that otherwise.
Right. But I mean, the other side of it is too, like if it's not there, it's not there, right? And if he ran the wrong route, so yeah, you're right. If there's always a component when the ball is turned over, right? It's not always just on the quarterback. But, does this have anything to do, you guys think, with the fact that they didn't have a training camp together? And,
It's not gonna help.
CD's trying to get it all figured out, but he got his bag, though.
There's a reason that Jalen Tolbert had 7 catches for 87 yards
Right.
and the game-winning score last night, and it's because he was in training camp actually getting the reps with him. So I don't know if there's a huge divide going on, and when you have, they're stuck with each other. So you guys are going to have to get over it if there is a divide.
Right.
Let's get to some Spurs stuff here. Obviously, great win for the Cowboys. We'll see how they do on Sunday. We'll talk more about it on Thursday as well. So Spurs, they tip off, if we want to be sports specific here, tip off their preseason tonight, against the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are not playing all of their starters almost. Zach Collins obviously coming off the dislocated shoulder. Devin Vassell coming off the surgery on his foot. So those two guys obviously not playing tonight. Wemby held out. Chris Paul held out. Charles Bassey also coming back from an injury, so he's held out as well. So not taking this game as isolated incident, not taking this game just as a standalone. What do you want to see from them in the preseason as a whole, not just obviously tonight, because we're not going to see much tonight?
How much continuity can you build this much into training camp with guys that they obviously want to look at, but you know, I mean, they don't let anybody into these practices while the real stuff's going on. So I think for a lot of Spurs fans, this is going to be like Christmas morning. I mean, you're really going to get your first look to see what this group looks like, and you know, depending on who's on the floor. But you know, how do they play? How do they play together?
For me, it's
what is Oklahoma City going to do tonight? You know, just what does it look like? I mean, literally, we have no idea.
For me, it's really important that they start strong and show some good performances in the preseason, because I think you have to start fast to get your fan base engaged this season. Obviously, everyone's excited about Chris Paul. Everyone's excited about Harrison Barnes. Everyone's excited about Wemby's development and how everything's going to mesh together. But if you start 3-20 again, you're quickly going to see people not care. And so the preseason, I think you have to give them a little taste of it. Maybe Wemby and Chris Paul aren't playing tonight. That's fine. I'm sure they'll play a game or 2 or 3 this preseason. Wemby talked last week about wanting to play more in the preseason, and then he's held out tonight, so it doesn't make
right.
too much sense. Maybe Pop didn't hear that comment. But you need to start building that equity with your fans in the preseason, and that's something that I think they need to show and that we need to see.
I'm just, like I said, I'm curious to see what any of it looks like without having had the benefit of, you know, sitting in on a practice and see, you know, who's doing what are the rotations going to look like early on in the year, and obviously tonight won't be a good example of that since half the team is sitting out. So, you know, anything will be, I think, good from the standpoint is I haven't seen any of it.
Right.
So,
I mean, one thing I think we know is that Wemby is going to be significantly improved than he was last year. That year 2 leap, we saw it in France when they were playing in the Olympics. Like he is a significantly better player than he was on April 14th or 11th or whatever the last day of the season was last year. I think from everybody else, we need to see how Devin Vassell is going to mesh with everybody. One thing I'm interested to see tonight is Stephon Castle.
Yep.
How is Stephon Castle going to play with the rest of his actual team and not the scrubs is a little bit loose of a term, but the people that he was playing with in the G League, in the Summer League. Obviously, he's going to get to play with Jeremy now, and he's going to get Harrison Barnes in there, and he's going to get the Malakis and all of those guys. So how are all those guys going to mesh? And is Stephon Castle, is this an experiment time? Is he going to play point guard, or is he going to play shooting guard? Where is Stephon Castle going to play most of his minutes? I'm curious about that as well.
yeah, I want to see if, you know, he can shoot the ball. But again, you know, he's a young guy, and there's going to be a learning curve for a rookie, and especially on a team that, you know, there's a lot of young players. There's some veteran guys now too, but, you know, how does it all kind of fit together? And I think that's where the experimentation should go on this time of year. That's why it's the preseason and not the regular season.
Exactly, but if they keep experimenting in the regular season, that's when I think everyone's going to have an issue with it, because the first 40 games or so were an experiment last year, and it didn't end up very well, and everybody lost interest really fast.
Yeah, I just don't know how far along they are in deciding, you know, A, who's going to play, and then B, who's going to be the starter. You know, I mean, there's a lot of guys that I think are kind of in the same canoe. You know, I think there are a lot of guys that have earned minutes, but ultimately, what does the coaching staff think, and how are they going to divvy that all up?
Different than the NFL preseason too. Like this one, obviously not as much of a strain on your body. So I think if you play all your starters 24, 30 minutes in a preseason game, it'll be much more universally accepted. Plus, you're giving the fans a taste. Give me a Chris Paul to Wemby lob. Show me why we brought him here, and give me a little bit of just a little appetizer to the
You sound
regular
old
season.
school.
I play in the fucking preseason, man. Like, goddamn, it's not that hard. I'm not the one being paid millions of dollars though. So I had pizza and beer yesterday. They probably had a salad and protein. So
Maybe.
let's.
I'm with you. I mean, right? If we're going to keep score, right?
Yeah, we're not. This isn't the black and silver scrimmage.
Right.
like, play.
Yes.
All this talk is great until somebody gets injured.
Of course.
Someone
But
always gets injured. Like, it's just.
That's the way it
it's
is.
just Sports.
That's right.
You know what,
And
Jalen Tolbert.
you ever notice that too? Guys seem to get hurt more than they've ever gotten hurt, and we're managing minutes and we're doing whatever. So.
And Jalen Tolbert got hit in the ding ding yesterday and caught the game winning ball. If he can do that, all right, we can all power through. High school hype squad.
True that.
Let's get to high school football before we get out of here on this wonderful Monday morning. No TNL this week. We're on a bye, so we won't go over our TNL matchup of the week because there is not one. We will go over TNL top 10, though. Piper was on a bye. This is going to be pretty fast, too, because I think 5 of our top 10 was on a bye, so not a lot to talk about there. Piper was on a bye. They're still the 8th-ranked team in 5A D1. They are playing Seguin on Friday, October 11th. Excuse me. Alamo Heights, 6-0, 2-0 in district now. They beat Harlandale 55-9. They're now averaging 42 points a game, which is just insane.
I saw DK took off on another what looked like an 80-yard run. I mean,
Yeah.
that kid's amazing.
Yeah, he's got the breakaway speed, that's for sure. Just get him in the open field.
Yes.
They have weapons out the wazoo there. Plus the tight end Bennett is really good, and I mean they're really good. They're gonna have a heck of a test though against Victoria West this Friday. Victoria West also 6-0, 2-0 in district. They just beat Tivy. I think it was 45-21 this past week. I mean, and Tivy's a pretty good team this year. So Alamo Heights, they play them at home Friday night at Orem. There has I don't think they've lost a district game at home under Ron Ritteman. So this might be a pretty good test for
And we're not even talking about Michael Terry.
I mean, what else can you say about Michael Terry? You know,
It's all been said.
We've said it multiple times. Michael Terry's phenomenal.
Well earned. Yes.
Steele had a battle against East Central. They won 64-59. This game took 3.5 hours till 11 o'clock on Friday night, much to Javier's chagrin, because I think we were all getting out of here, but we had to wait for that game to finish. And I was just watching Jack's feed because our photographer Jack Green was there. It was ridiculous. East Central
Instant classic.
Anthony Mackey. I think it's Anthony Mackey or Isaiah Mackey. I mess up his first name all the time. The East Central quarterback is a wagon. And it was like 28-13. Steele scored 28 points in the first quarter. It was 40-21 or something like that at halftime. It was 50-33. And you always just got a little bit of a sense like, okay, when's Steele going to put him away? They just never put him away. East Central kept scoring, made it 50-45. Then Jonathan Hatton goes in for a touchdown, 57-45. Then Anthony Mackey scores another touchdown, 57-53, and it was just back and forth. You never knew when the game was going to end, and we just kept looking at the clock, and it's like, oh, there's 3 minutes left still. What can happen now? East Central was insanely impressive. So
Yeah, it sure sounds like it. I'm sad I missed that one.
I mean, we got all the highlights.
I'm going to go back and look.
Check it out. Judson is now on deck for Steele, which is always a classic game. Just tell me a little bit. I mean, you've been covering this forever, so tell me a little bit about the rivalry between Steele and Judson.
I just keep thinking of all the great players that went through both programs, right? And just we were spitballing yesterday, just guys that are in the league now that, Sincere McCormick got called up by the Raiders, after a couple of years on the practice squad. So I just think of the great players, the Caden Stearns of the world. I mean, go right down the list, man. We could sit here for days. Malcolm Brown, but, the Judsons and the Steeles. You think about how many guys I have to sit there and try to figure out how many guys made it to the NFL from those two schools.
Well, Terrence Steele last night gave the shout out to Steele High School in his Sunday night promo, whenever they pop up the heads. So that was kind of cool.
We were thinking that too. I think Terrence Steele is the single greatest NFL earner in San Antonio history.
Is he?
Well, he will be by the end of this contract.
By the end of his contract, yeah.
So
I'm also
shout out to Terrence Steele.
I'm also curious as to how many people were watching that and they just thought that he made up a high school with his last name. He just Steele High School. What? Anyway, that's going to be a really good matchup. I mean, Mark Soto and Judson are a little bit down this year, obviously, but it's always a fun game between Steele and Judson.
And all those kids know each other.
All those kids know each other. Yeah, I mean, they grew up together. It's always a good rivalry. I'm sure we'll have a camera there this Friday, so it might even be our game of the week this Friday. But I don't want to speak for Zach Hedrick. Number 4 is Southwest. No change here. They beat Southside 28-zip. Their press box is phenomenal. They played the first game at home since they got their new press box. It's really great, according to Zach. Brennan beat O'Connor. They're 4-1 now, 3-0 in district. They beat O'Connor 45-zip. Brennan, no disrespect to the rest of the teams in that district, but Brennan does not have a hard game left on their schedule. Like they play they play Marshall, then they play Holmes, then they play Warren, then they play Taft, who we saw. Maybe Taft is going to be a little bit of a challenge. And then they play Stevens, I think, who might be a little bit of a challenge just because of the weird offense that they run. Stevens beat Warren, I think, 47-7 this past week. So they're
good. We saw them with our own 2 eyes.
Brennan's really good. Stevens can be good, and Taft is getting better, I would say.
Yeah, Taft is one of those teams you just. You've been in a fight, I mean, that game we had against Stevens is, talk about classic, right?
Yeah. John Jay is 6th. No change here at all. They were on a bye last week, 5-0, 3-0 in district. They play Laredo Figueroa, who's 0-6, so I'm just going to assume that Jay wins this week, and they stay at number 6 going forward. New Braunfels was on a bye week. They are 4-1, 2-0 in district. They play Burning Champion this Friday, 7 o'clock. Taft was on a bye. They play Warren this week, 7:30 on Friday, October 11th at Gus. East Central, we already talked about. They lost to Steele. And I got to give props to Carlos real quick. I give him a lot of crap about this list. But he did a great job this week not dropping East Central out. East Central deserves to be in the top 10. They are 4-2 now. They're 1-1 in district. But if you give Steele a run for their money, just like they did this past week, they deserve to be in the top 10. And I'm very happy that Carlos did not drop them out.
Yeah, Carlos, he does an amazing job every week. I mean, given how much there is to manage, not only with the big boy top 10,
but the sub
team too. And shout out to some of those teams there that are kicking butt.
Randolph 6-0.
Somerset.
Yeah.
Holy Cross.
Huge.
Undefeated.
Absolutely. And then Smithson Valley, number 10. Also, Carlos, don't say I never say anything nice about you now.
Yeah, Carlos.
Smithson Valley stays at number 10. They were on a bye this past week, 3-2, 0-1 in district. Off that, lost to Piper. They play Wagner, Ranger Stadium this Friday. So that was a blitz through that.
It was. I think we got somewhere we have to be.
Yeah, we got to go vote on our San Antonio Sports All-Stars. This is one of my favorite days all year. So we're going to go choose who makes it to, what is it, January 7th this year in the Alamo Dome?
Oh,
6th,
don't pin
7th?
me down on a date. That's so next year.
All right.
Be where your feet are, Matthew. Be where your feet are.
I can't. I'm always thinking ahead, all right? I got a rundown to do on Thursday.
Yes, you do.
That's all we got for you today on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Remember to download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. Go pick up a Bo Nix jersey. He's the GOAT. We'll see you on Thursday.